Hello and welcome. My name is Zafar Iqbal, and you are watching the Mojo Story. A series of aviation disasters in December has left hundreds dead and raised serious concern about the global aviation safety. The most devastating incident occurred in South Korea when a Jeju Air flight crashed at Muan Airport. The plane returning from Bangkok suffered a landing gear failure, skidded off the runway and collided with a concrete fence, igniting a massive fire. 179 people lost their lives in just, and there were just two survivors who were pulled out. Now, then there were other incidents also. Uh, an Azerbaijan airline flight crashed uh, in Kazakhstan, killing 38 people. The plane experienced technical issues and dense fog during its emergency diversion. And it is the Azerbaijan air crash you can see on the screen. Uh, Investigators are also looking into possible interference from a nearby military operation. So that could be another reason for this crash. All these things are being looked into. Now, there was another incident in Brazil. A private plane crash killed 10 members of the same family. The aircraft struck buildings and structures as it descended, leaving 17 injured on the ground. Then there was another incident in Papua New Guinea and Argentina, two other crashes involving small aircraft. Now, in those two crashes, also there were casualties. So, we're seeing sort of a series of these incidents taking place in December. And that is really very shocking and tragic that so many incidents are taking place. Now, why is all of this happening? What is the reason? Uh, let's try and go across to Group Captain, if we can have him on the screen. Yes, let's try and speak to Group Captain Augustine Vinod. He joins us. He knows the subject like the back of his hand. He's an expert in the field. Welcome to Mojo Story, sir. Uh, how would you assess the current state of global affairs, aviation safety in this regard? We've been seeing these recent incidents taking place one after the other.
Zafar bhai, couple of things that comes to my mind is firstly, December is a very busy month as far as aviation is concerned. People travel all over the world. Christmas time, people get holidays, and most the Christian community world travels. In fact, the whole world travels.
Right.
Um, so travel is on the very high side. Now, when you have 60, 70% full seats are now going 100% or trying to go to 110% full. Now
Right.
that puts stress on three main people. First and foremost is maintenance,
Right.
because this is the time airline wants to cut out their losses if they are making losses, or make more profit if they are already
Right.
making profit.
Hmm.
So airlines pressures the maintenance, and maintenance is overworked. And pilots have a very clear-cut rules and regulations all over the world. आप इतने घंटे से ज़्यादा नहीं कर सकते. So you have a set working hours for the pilot in a month, in a day. So those cannot be violated. But what happens is maintenance gets pushed a little extra, because of which sometimes in some airlines, maintenance takes a little bit of a backseat. That's
Now,
point number one.
is the situation getting compromised because the airlines understand that this is the peak season, and at the same time there is a certain sort of a manpower involved in maintenance or the technical staff? They only have to do all of this while the burden is more during those days. Does that happen?
See, अंग्रेजी में कहावत है, end justifies the means. You only covered in this particular aircraft. The previous day, there was a malfunction. Jeju Airlines. Same aeroplane. It did it get solved? It didn't get solved.
mm,
It reappeared. उस नाग ने अपना फन फिर से उठाया कि नहीं.
mm,
So in
mm,
a low or a medium pressure times when
mm.
the traffic is low, maintenance can go into the seriousness of the snag or rectification process so that
Mm.
it doesn't reoccur. You
Right.
notice many crashes. I mean, I can count many of them where that particular problem occurred in the previous flight or previous couple of flights. For example, that Lion Air crash, if you remember, Boeing 737 MAX went down into the water. Previous day, it happened with one of the pilots. Exactly the same thing. But they managed the situation and managed to land. But the next flight and the troubleshooting by the maintenance was on the they erred. They replaced something which was not bad, and what was bad, which equipment was bad, was not replaced or not
Right.
rectified. Let's put it that way. So there is a pressure on maintenance. So एक pressure maintenance पे हुआ. The next pressure that we see is on the airport.
Right.
So airport staff, and they are also trying to maximize their movement because that is the time when airports make money. Third pressure is December is the time of in the northern hemisphere. December is the time of winters,
Mm.
fall, mist, haze, snow. All
Right.
those issues start cropping up. So you notice it is like one on top of the other gets piled up. So historically, most incidents happen between November to February. Most incidents, whether it is airplanes going off the runway or such accidents that we are going to discuss, everything happens in this period. This is the high pressure period.
Right.
So mathematically, this is the time the things go awry. And
So the
traffic is also high.
Right. So there are these common trends that happen during this period of time. But when we talk about this Jeju Air crash, there is also this thing reported that there was a landing gear malfunction. Is the equipment failure also one of the reasons that such crashes take place? Besides the other things that you have pointed out, and something that is predict that you can predict, as you were saying, that on one particular day there was some sort of a problem and it was not perhaps addressed the way it should have been, and next day it just happened again.
Yeah, see, you remember the Hudson landing, Hudson River landing. Why did it happen? It happened because of Burdett.
But
Pilot was an ex-military pilot,
yeah.
very experienced pilot,
Hmm,
and both engines failed.
hmm,
There is no way he could reach anywhere close to any runway.
hmm.
He had only 30 seconds to assimilate the situation and take action. 30 seconds. And he
30.
was very low, 2,200 feet or something like that.
Hmm,
But he took a wonderful decision, and today everybody is living to tell the tale.
hmm,
So, what happens is you can train for all possible contingencies, but sometimes you may end up with a contingency that you were not trained for.
hmm,
For example, in this case, as I see, you had multiple emergencies. The pilot was facing not a bird hit followed by a flame out.
hmm,
Bird hit followed by a flame out every 6 months we practice, Zafar bhai.
hmm,
Every 6 months in the
hmm,
simulator, we do hundreds of single engine tail landing, short finals, middle of the finals, immediately on takeoff, after takeoff, engine failing. So it is like a second nature to a pilot to uh, you know identify an engine failure at critical juncture and take appropriate action. That is what we are trained for.
Right.
And many a times it has happened that the engine has failed short finals on takeoff, immediately after takeoff, mostly because of bird it only, because the birds are at that altitude. But pilots have taken excellent action and come back and landed very safely, not an issue, because we
Mm.
train for that. But in this case, as I see it, these people had multiple emergencies.
Right.
Their undercarriage was a problem. They had probably smoke in the cockpit.
Mm.
So when multiple emergencies pile up, उस permutation combination में you don't get you
Right.
can't give everybody training for a different permutations and combination,
There is a
because the
protocol.
emergency possibilities are so many कि आप
Yeah.
कितने permutation combination में आप training दे
There is
पाओगे.
there is a protocol in place that people are trained on, but it is it is done in a way that you make a guess that this can happen, that can happen, but you don't know exactly what is going to happen on that particular day at that
Yeah.
particular time. What are the different factors that will come together? And that is where the common sense of the operator comes into play. As you were saying that there were just 30 seconds and somebody took that call, but nothing can be done about training can you take you to a level, but after that it is not training, it is the decision that is taken at that point in time.
Wonderful. In fact, the image is up on a screen.
Yeah.
See, any accident happen
Yeah.
when cheese holes align.
Mm.
So cheese holes alignment कहते हैं. So if one slice of cheese has one hole here, the other slice of cheese another hole here, third
Right.
slice of cheese there is another hole here.
Right.
But in a random manner, when you align the cheese holes, is when you get accidents. In this case, you
Right.
look at it.
Right.
As we are seeing on the screen, the pilot was approaching from bottom to top. The runway was 01. Bottom
Right.
to top, he was approaching. On the right hand side, in that red dot, you
Yeah.
see that is the area which is infested with birds. It's kind of a bird sanctuary.
Mm.
And
Mm.
slightly to the right, you see one island kind of a thing. Lot of birds there. On the left, there are a lot of birds there. And also, there is a river which flows
Right.
into this particular estuary. Even though
Right.
the river has a lot of birds. So this area is known for having seagull activity.
Mm.
So seagull has adjusted into the engine. And in this Muan Airport, there have been birded cases earlier also. It's not the first time the bird is hitting an aeroplane. And bird hitting an aeroplane, I have had many birds in my life. In MiG-21, I had, while coming to land, some 4 to 5 birds hit my canopy, and I couldn't see anything in front. There is no way I could have landed. But it was a MiG, so I did formation landing with my CO, with my commanding officer. So instead of looking in front, I was looking to the right, looking at him, and he was looking in front, and he escorted me back on the runway.
Right.
And we came landed together.
Mm.
I mean, the retired Air Vice Marshal Shankar Mani, that time he was Wing Commander Shankar Mani, who brought me back to the runway. Otherwise, I would have probably have to eject or dead by now.
Yeah.
So, even in civil airline, I have had bird it. So, bird it closer to ground is something which pilots experience. This pilot had 6,800 hours of experience. I am more than sure he must have experienced a couple of bird hits in his life. But it is not an issue. As in, it is an issue, but it is something, a danger which we live with. Single
Mm.
engine is the danger which we live with and we practice every 6 months. But in this case, he had 2 more emergencies of smoke,
Mm.
I mean, apparently, and undercarriage not coming down.
Mm.
And there is one more close-up image. I would request
Can
the
Ria, if you
producer to
can
put it
put
up.
it up? Yeah, I'll ask my
The
producer to
closer
show.
image of the runway. So the pilot tried to go from down to up, that is 01 runway, when he had this birded, and he
Mm.
was perfectly placed for landing. And he was, I think, about 500 feet when he had this birded. And he went around. Now, this image, the other image. And he
Right.
went around. He went around. Now he tried to land from north to south
Mm.
on runway 19. So when you are coming to land with undercarriage problem in airliners, you have a capability to lower the gear using gravity. Lowering the undercarriage or the gear or the wheels
mm,
is not an issue at all, Zafar bhai. Not at all an issue. Even
mm.
without electrical, even without hydraulics in Boeing or in any airliner, there is a cable. You pull that cable, the uplock mechanism breaks, and the aeroplane comes in. The gear, the wheel falls down, and you come and land.
Correct.
In this case, the pilots have not taken the gear down using
Mm,
this g- gravity extension mechanism.
mm.
The reason I'm not very sure.
Right.
Okay. Second, they have not taken high lift devices called flaps. So if you take
Right.
flaps, you can approach the runway at much lower speed.
Right.
In this case, they have come at very high speed and they did not touch down. They were trying to probably delay the touchdown and continue to fly. And when finally the aeroplane touched the runway, half the runway was behind them.
Right.
And there is a beautiful saying in aviation: the sky above you and the runway behind you is of no use.
Right.
So the runway was, as it is, not too long, not too short. It is just 9,000 few feet runway. It's a medium runway, adequate for air operations. But
Right.
normally a big runway is 11,000 feet. This
Mm.
one was 9,000 feet, adequate for operations. But उसमें 4.5 तो आप खा गए या 4,000 feet तो आप खा गए. That has gone
बिल्कुल.
behind you. Now when
Just
you
half of it
touched,
is left. Yeah. Just half of it
only
is left.
less than half of it is left.
Right.
And can you bring up that picture here? So
Yes.
once after that touchdown, you notice end of the runway. There are those chevron marking like an arrow mark.
Mm,
After that is that area is called the RISA, runway
mm.
exit safety area. That is where the aeroplane decelerates. If you notice, there's a lot of dust that kicks up when the runway. When we see the video, we'll see dust kicks
Mm.
up. But most important thing that we need to see, and it has not been discussed probably in any channel, is this little wall that you see after the runway. You see that
Right.
white wall?
Yes.
So that white wall is called the localizer antenna. And this localizer antenna is for some reason in Muan, they have made it on a concrete wall. And that is where the aeroplane goes and hits and bursts
It's
into flame.
right.
Bring up the other image in which there is an aeroplane. There was no requirement for concrete wall to put
Yeah.
a localizer antenna.
Yeah.
The another image with the airplane.
Yes.
So
She'll
the
just put it
concrete
up.
wall localizer, I have not seen anywhere in my life.
It's
Never.
a designer fault
Look,
also,
this
the
is
way that,
so.
yeah,
Look
the
at
way
this. This
that
is how the localizer antenna should be. See
yeah.
this? This is how it
Yes.
should be. If अगर हवाई जहाज इस पे टकराता है, nothing happens to aeroplane. Of course, I will have damage, but the
Mm.
antenna will break and nothing will happen. I mean, aeroplane will have some more run up to stop. It may hit the
Yes.
wall, but the wall was also made
Yeah.
out of small hollow bricks. Wall would have
Yeah.
broken, but so many people wouldn't have died.
Right.
But if you now bring up that accident tail, Riyadh, bring up the tail crash to show the tail,
Right.
the crash image.
Mm.
When you look at that image, you will notice, Zafar bhai, the entire concrete wall is broken. See this?
Yes.
This is the concrete wall. And see that
Yes.
orange thing? That is the
Yeah.
localizer antenna. For
It's a
some reason,
concrete.
just look at
It's
this
a
concrete wall.
concrete wall, a very big wall. I don't know. I think that is the engineering, the designing also defective in the sense that
Fault.
they have not factored this problem, this emergency. If it would have cropped up at some point in time, they would not have perhaps have such a solid wall. They would have had some arrangement to block the plane, but not in the way that it's obvious that if you hit that wall, it's going to burst.
And see, Murphy's law, if something can go wrong, it will go wrong. If you put a
Yeah.
wall, if tomorrow any aeroplane overruns, like in this case, it will hit the wall and everyone will burst into flame. And that is exactly what happened. Murphy's law. अगर वो wall ना होता तो इतने लोग ना मरते. If there was no wall, so many people wouldn't have died. I mean, I'm telling you with conviction because look at
But
this is the boundary wall. ये
yes.
boundary wall का image है. This is a hollow
Hmm,
brick.
hmm.
If that wall, concrete wall, no wall was not there, it would have hit this gate. And this
Right.
boundary wall, nothing would have happened. Or
But
many people would have been saved.
are lessons learned from this? Because this is something that you have pointed out, because you know the subject so very well, will lessons be learned? Because I was also wondering that are these practices and protocols universal across the globe? Because different places have different geographies. There are river, there's some places where there are a lot of birds, some are deserts, some are other high altitude areas. Is a person, is a pilot, is the crew supposed to have knowledge of all such topographies so that a situation can come up and it be able to adjust to that situation?
Good question. See, the pilots can obviously cannot have such kind of knowledge or expected to take decision even if he has knowledge on such kind of things.
Right.
But the problem is when you have no go no go violation that takes place. In this case, like let me tell you, in DGC in India,
Yeah.
it is very clear if you cannot touch down within the touchdown zone. Touchdown zone is a earmarked, clearly marked zone on the runway. If you cannot touch down, you go wrong. If you don't go wrong, punitive action is taken against you. So in India, no Indian pilot touches down beyond the touchdown zone. And touchdown zones are marked like a white box is made on the runway. Where the white boxes end, उसके अंदर आपको touchdown करना ही करना है.
Right.
Because all the mathematical calculations has been catered that you will touch down within the touchdown zone and stop safely. That is what has been catered. If you don't touch down in the touchdown zone, you don't touch down, you go around. In this case, when they didn't touch down in the touchdown zone, they should have gone round. And let me tell the viewers, it is airliners are designed to go around in single engine. It goes around very beautifully, not a problem at all. Even at very low altitude, you just open full power called toga. Okay, take off and go around the power. It beautifully goes around. Even if
Right.
you had to do what you did and what they did, I don't know what they did, because you had the ability to lower the gear using gravity. You could have come down using gravity extended gear and flaps. Fine. You want to do what you did, land without flaps, without gear. But within the touchdown zone,
Right.
you overshot the touchdown zone is when you get into the such scenario where you go and hit such walls. But the
Right.
fact still remains, the wall was the killer. And no
Abs-
channel is discussing it.
Absolutely.
Mojo Story probably is the first channel which has brought this out.
Yes. Yes. And lastly, there's also these geopolitical activities that take place in that particular, zone where these landings are taking place. Does that also impact? Is that a factor that's being considered? Because sometimes we see, even in our own country, there are defense airports and civil airports side by side. How is that factored in? Because in one particular case, in the Azerbaijan airline crash, that thing is also being investigated and looked upon, that perhaps it was something that hit it and that caused the crash.
Wonderful question. Zafar Bhai, I thought you were asking this question reading my article. Yesterday only I wrote an article on this. You know, the fourth variable which I didn't cover with you is this traveling to area which are disturbed or through the area which are disturbed.
Yeah.
There are plenty of cases of mistaken fire on civil airliners and civil airliners being brought down. आप ईरान एयर आपको याद होगा 1988
Hmm.
one United States ship called Vincennes shot down one Iran airliner. Some 228 people died in that. And that Iran airliner made a very big news, 1988 ka. MH17. Immediately, this I mean, the MH17 was the last death knell for Malaysian Airlines.
Right.
MH17 was a 777 getting airborne from Amsterdam coming to Kuala Lumpur, got shot down over this war zone.
Right.
So flying closer to war zone is fraught with danger. This aeroplane was going to Grozny. Grozny was under attack by Ukraine.
Right.
Ukrainian drones were flying and firing over Grozny. Russia was taking action against these drones. Active war zone. Active war zone में civilian जहाज का जाने का क्या मतलब है? I'm just not able to understand.
Right.
See, why am I not able to understand? Because in our country, we have an exceptional talmail between coordination between civil traffic and military traffic.
Yeah.
And we have a procedure called air defense clearance.
Yeah.
इंडिया के ऊपर से या इंडिया के अंदर कोई भी बिना एयर डिफेंस क्लियरेंस के आ ही नहीं सकता. Nobody flies on top of India or land in India without air defense clearance. He could be anybody, even Air Force One. He needs an Air Force clearance. That is called ADC. We give a number. And you stick to what you said. Suppose you say, I'm going to land Bombay between 7:30 to 8 o'clock. You better land between 7:30 to 8 o'clock, but clearance is given to you and you're given ADC number, ADC 111. So ADC 111 clears you to land in the filed flight plan, time, and the altitude and the route. There is no way, even if the hot war is going on, you will get fired upon.
Right.
Air Force will ensure that you're safe. That is air defense clearance because talmail hai.
Yeah.
That somehow was missing in Grozny's case.
Right.
Some, this Panjshir missile was fired at it.
Yeah.
Panjshir missile ki ek khubi hai. There is a beautiful thing about Panjshir missile. While the missile is going towards the target, there is a video feedback from the missile to the operator.
Right.
I feel the operator took last minute evasion measure, but still the missile exploded and it severed the elevator line. Now the pilot was trying to fly the aeroplane with something called trimmable horizontal stabilizer. The entire tail plane moves with the wheel. Now it is not flying with the stick. It is flying with the wheel. Very difficult to fly. It is nearly impossible to land an aeroplane using the wheel. But that pilot, kudos to that pilot. He had a lot of experience. That Uzbek pilot, no?
Yeah.
Azerbaijan pilot.
Azerbaijan pilot.
Of Uzbek origin. So he had a lot of experience. He flew the aeroplane in the trim wheel. I tried flying it in trim wheel in simulator. It's not possible to do. Very difficult. And he tried to cushion the landing at the last minute. And that is how so many people got saved. Otherwise, in that also, 100% death would have happened. But a lot of people were saved because of, but in the process, of course, the pilot lost his life.
Yeah.
But in the process, he's saved. Look at it when he is coming down. He's flying without pitch control. See, last minute, he just picks up the nose. He's picking up the speed. Look at that. See? Last minute, he tries to cushion the landing. See that?
Right.
And that is how so many people saved.
Right.
Otherwise, so many people would have lost their lives. Similar case which happened recently in Brazil.
Yeah. It's
and
been
one KLM aeroplane, this one. He went into a flat spin. We covered that also. I think in Mojo story. He went into a flat spin and went into the ground immediately after takeoff.
Yeah.
And it was again an aeroplane called ATR. Same aeroplane which was involved in a crash in Nepal.
Right.
Same aeroplane. And another KLM went off the runway, which was again a Boeing.
Yeah.
And there was another one close to Air Canada, Halifax. This had a suspected landing gear issue, and some of the passengers. It was a Bombardier Q400, the same aeroplane which the SpiceJet का जो propeller, high wing propeller aeroplane is same. The Bombardier Q400.
Yeah.
The undercarriage issue, and it went off the runway. So it was like in the opening sentence you covered was a very bad month. But historically, December has been
Ex- ex-
pressing issues.
it's been a very interesting discussion with you and very highly informative. So much technical understanding that you shared with us. Of course, we look at things very superficially, we don't understand so much in detail, but clearly this is extremely helpful. And I hope our viewers will also get a better understanding of the way things work and the timing also when all of these crashes have taken place. Group Captain Augustine Vinod, thanks so much for joining us, and thanks to all our viewers for watching the Mojo Story.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.